We take a look at the Hitstrip from DJ Swivel. And I must say, after the Omni channel from Sheps, this seems like a really complete channel strip. And honestly, I'm not such a big fan of those because sometimes I want, this or that. And usually I have my go-to EQ that I want to use, and the compressors, more than not, they differ across channels depending on what I want to do. But this seems like a really nice channel strip. Now, one thing I wish it had was the ability to change its size, and I have not found that. This is a demo, and within the settings I have found nothing else than just support manual, who coded it, whose idea was DJ Swivels, and the other products on the website. So I've seen no other settings that what is actually in front of you, and honestly, that's really nice as well. That's refreshing. So everything you want to see is in this one screen, and that's really cool. And the best thing about it is that at the same time, you can see everything in the chain, so you can see how everything in the chain interacts with each other. And, since they are all in serial, and you can change the ordering of any of those. Let's start from the beginning. So we do have a gate that is at the beginning of the chain, and you cannot change that. And obviously you wouldn't want to. So we have a gain right here. We have the threshold that's right there. We do have some advanced options, so along with the attack and release, ratio, threshold, range, all of that. So it really does look like a gate that has enough settings for anything you might want to do. I'm going to try this on an entire track. So let me disable all the other parts of it. Okay, all the other modules. So let's play it and just see what the gate does. Okay, so let's go up with the threshold. Now, a gate on the whole track does not really work all that well, but I can see what is happening. So the range is minus infinite. And yeah, gate on the whole track is not really the best idea. So let's try that only on the drums, just to see what that looks like on the drums, like this. Okay, so I'm gonna go down now with the gain reduction. Nice. Okay, we can even decide on the frequency spectrum, the part of the spectrum that we want to look at for the detection circuit, of course. That's really nice. Has a knee setting as well. Yeah, so quite an advanced featured kind of gate that will let you do mostly anything you want to do with it. Okay, so that's our gate. I can even disable that, and I can move this Hitstrip, let's say, all the way back to the master track, like so. Okay, and let's continue. Let's see what else is there. So we do have a de-esser, and as I said, we can change the ordering of these modules, like the 5 of them that are in the middle. And this de-esser also looks really nice, so it has everything you want. The shape of the de-esser can be changed. We can change the filter, so we can make it into a shelf or make it into a bell. Standard threshold, range, which is really nice. Frequency, what it is, which, all of these you can change by just using your mouse. So scrolling on top of the point or anything like that. So this is really nice. Have a de-esser built in. That's great for a channel strip. Amazing. So I like that. And we can try that out on the whole track. Yeah, beautiful. We can even listen. So audition only that part of the spectrum. Nice. Okay. Seems like it's doing its job. Let me just do that with less range. Okay. Get a hold of those hi-hats. Now we are only playing the drums. Okay, so let's go on to, let's say, the EQ first. As for the EQ and de-esser and all the other ones in the middle right here, all the other modules, you can change the mix right here on the module itself, which is really nice. It's so nicely put, visually, that you have an overview of everything that's happening in the plugin without going into any other, sub menus or sub windows being opened. So I really like that. And for an EQ as well, you can add an EQ curve and then just apply less of that EQ, which is also nice. And this EQ seems really, really intuitive with a lot of options. So many different, shapes. As for the EQ, by default, it's dynamic. And it doesn't do anything dynamically until you touch the range, like this. Nice. Okay, so we have a range that can go up or down, can be expanding or compressing. That's good. And this EQ point can become two different types of processors as well. So as I said, dynamic by default, and we also have a transient and tonal. So the transient is going to be controlling the transients, and going up with this kind of EQ curve is going to add more transient in this band of frequencies, and going down is going to remove some transient in this band of frequencies, and the length is going to decide how long, so the timing of that transient. And then we can also go into tonal, and that is going to be processing the sustain. So the sustain, and this is again the length of that sustain that we want to apply. So less sustain on this, band of frequencies, more sustain, and so forth. Honestly, I'm surprised. Like, this is something that we don't have in most EQs, at least not in the one that I use. I do have dynamics there, but something like this, no. Really, really, something like this good in something that's just a channel strip. And I say just the channel strip because, usually these channel strips is just a simple EQ and a compressor. And I say simple because they usually try to emulate some mixing console strip. That's usually the case. And again, as I said, this EQ, like after you've done all of it, maybe let's say added more points, just like that, we can just adjust with this mix how much we want to affect. That's really great. Again, let's switch on to dynamics. I can even shut off this EQ, but look at that. I can see the EQ, the entire curve, and I can see this compressor or expander. So this compressor expander is also really great, but really, really great. As you can see that, like, look at that. Start compressing. Nice. Standard controls, as any compressor would have. It can have an internal or an external sidechain, so you could decide to have that internal sidechain be just a timing division, which obviously sends like a fake trigger at a certain tempo, so you can do sidechaining with nothing. That's really nice. And we have an automatic makeup gain. Left and right can be linked or unlinked, which is really good. As I said, we can change that into an expander. This is really cool. And then again, we have the dynamics mix. So we can decide to have this work in parallel. Next is going to be the exciter. And as you can see right here, we have two exciter processors happening at different frequencies. So this one goes up to 500. This one goes from 20,000 hertz down to 500. So two exciters that we have in these two areas of frequencies, just like this, just like that. And then right after that, a transient shaper on top of everything. So we can just remove some transients or add some transients. Again, we have the length. So this is the timing, how long or short we want that transient we are enhancing or removing to be. We can decide on the frequency range where we are going to be, affecting those transients. And at the end, we have a limiter. So this is our gain reduction for the limiter. So our threshold being set right here. And again, we have the attack and release for this limiter. Now, one thing I do feel is like, no matter what I do with this limiter, and I can pull the volume down, of course, but let's say I put this down to -10, just to be precise. No matter how much I compress, let's say I limit really hard. Okay, so now I'm not clipping, but I am reaching -7.6, -7.8, so -7. It's always going over that limiter's threshold. So it's not a brick wall limiter, from what I feel, more like a limiter. So I feel it's not more of a brick wall limiter you would use for mastering. feels more like a limiter you would use within a channel strip. Honestly, that's really nice. And for all of that not to be final, and that's not all, we can listen to the signal mono, stereo, we can listen to only the mid, only the sides, only the left or right. And of course we can narrow or widen the stereo field. And on top of all of that, we have colors. So we do have global colors. So we do have some saturation to apply to all of it. So wait a second, look at that. We have a gate, de-esser, EQ, dynamics, exciter, transient. This exciter has like 2 different frequency ranges. So basically 2 exciters, a limiter, stereo width. Okay, that's normal. It's just basically like manipulating the mid-side relation. And then we have saturation on top of that. Okay, so I like the way it feels, what it has, how it looks, how it's designed. I like the concept of it, but I need to test this in depth in a real world scenario. So I'm going to test this out in the next track I need to mix. I think I'll just put this on every track and see where it takes me. And if you want to learn more about music production in depth, I have a course of 80+ hours that is completely free thanks to 11.org. Just go to mixingacademy.com. See you in the next video.